I stopped doing water slide decals for the past 1.5, 2 years, but that's about to change. What's up, nail crew? It's Nicole, your fellow nail obsessed DIYer. Today we are going to use these gorgeous decals and a new, to me, product for applying them. So first I'm going to start with my base application of my dip powder. On my natural nails, I have builder gel down. I pretty much always have builder gel or rubber base down on my natural nails. I like to keep that to have an apex built so that when I do my dip powders, I only need to do 2 dips of the color and then 1 dip of the clear. The 3 colors that I'm using are Because I Knew You, Little Ways to Flirt and Flounce, and then Casper. The pink is Because I Knew You. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's this stunning light shimmery pink that almost has like a sheen to it. It's not a chrome dip powder, but it has this like gorgeous like sheen chrome type effect. I absolutely love it. I love doing Halloween manis that aren't necessarily Halloween colors. So when I saw these decals, I was like, yes, I know exactly what I'm going to use with these colors. The pink and the shimmery white are from OG Dip Powder. They're from a Wicked inspired collection. And I wanted to do the decal because honestly, I haven't done decals in about a year and a half, 2 years. I've rarely done them. If you've been following my channel for a while or you're new here, welcome. And I have been trying to limit my gel usage for a while now. I'm not allergic to gels. I am allergic to Hema, but I can use Hema-free gels with no problems. I just try to really limit how much I use them because I'm doing my nails a lot. So I want to keep my chances of getting an allergy as low as possible. So for the most part, I either do builder gel or gel base down on my natural nails. And then once in a while, I'll use gels to dip with, but I'm usually using dip liquids to dip with. So what I've been trying to do for the past like year and a half, 2 years is find as many alternatives to gels as possible to do nail art. So I've been doing a crap ton of stamping. I absolutely love it. I've been trying all different things, but one thing that I've really missed is using decals. And I haven't been able to really find a product that works as well as gels to apply decals until now. So make sure you stay tuned. Normally, when I was doing decals, I like to use gel base to apply them, and it worked really well. But when I started trying different ways to use non gel options for applying decals, I just didn't find any that I liked. So I tried using dip liquids and they really dried too fast. And all of the odorless dip liquids that I tried, even though they dry slower, I really just didn't like. I didn't care for that many of them. There was one that I kind of liked, but then when I went to use it again, the liquids were all gross and stringy and thick. So I was like, okay, guess we're not using these anymore. I tried different sticky bases, and all of them dried too fast or they just didn't set right with the decals. So it's like really frustrating. And I ended up kind of giving up decals for a bit. But I kept seeing all these people talk about this Pretty and Savage chokehold. It's an air dry base that you use for decals. And I kept seeing it, I kept seeing it. And to be honest, like I was skeptical. I kind of just ignored it because, well, I was just like, oh, I don't know if I want to try anything else. I just kept getting so frustrated of the other products I tried. And then I saw one of my nail friends do a video on how she applies her decals with this chokehold. And I was like, whoa, why does that look so easy? Okay, I need to try it. That's what is coming up next. First, we need to work on our dip mani. Like I said, I only need to do 2 layers of the dip powder since I already have my apex built with the builder gel. And then I always go in with my last layer of dip as clear dip powder, regardless of the kind of dip that I'm using, whether I'm using a solid, a shimmer, a flake, a foil, a glitter, a combination of those. I do clear as my last layer because it seals in the dip. So if I'm using dip liquids, which is pretty much all the time, I am going to be using clear as my last layer. You worked so hard to get your application really nice. The last thing you want to do when you go to buff and file and shape is ruin that beautiful mani that you just did, right? Like let's say you just buffed too aggressively or filed too aggressively. Then you're going into your color. And after I work so hard, I certainly don't want to do that. Anytime you're doing dip on your nails, whether you're using dip liquids or gel liquids, make sure that you brush off the excess powder before you go to the next layer. That includes clear dip powder. The more that you brush off any of the excess powder that kind of like sits there after your nails started to dry, the thinner you're going to be able to keep your nails. So the goal is to always have a higher number of thin layers than a lower number of thick layers. The lower number of thick layers can tend to lead to lifting, cracking, and chipping. I use a stiff nail brush. I know some people like to use a fluffy nail brush, but for me, that just doesn't do it. I don't get like the good brushing off as much as I like if I try to use a fluffy nail brush compared to one of the stiff ones that I use. Once my clear dip powder is down and I brushed off the excess, then I go in with Activator. And I always do like 2 passes of the Activator on each nail, regardless of the dip liquids that I'm using. I just like to make sure that my Activator is totally soaked through. And then once it's ready to buff, file, and shape, you can like tap on your nails. I didn't show that, but if you tap on them and it sounds hard, then you'll know that they are ready to buff, file, and shape. I go through with a buffing block first, just to make sure my nails are nice and smooth, do a quick buff, and then I clean up around my cuticles with that little cuticle e-file bit you saw me use. If you're not comfortable with that, you can just use your hand file, and then I use my hand file to fix up any of the shaping. Now we are getting into these gorgeous decals. So in my friend's video, I saw the way she applied her decals, and I was like, okay, I want to apply it exactly the same. I even asked her, like, what are the nail scissors that you're using? So she sent me the link to the nail scissors too, and I got those off Amazon. Everything that I'm going to be using in the video and that I used is linked in the description. So I cut out my decal and then I wiped my nail with isopropyl alcohol to make sure that there was no filing dust or anything left on it. Once my nail was nice and clean and the isopropyl alcohol dried, I went in with my chokehold. And this is the air dry base that is for the decals. So I applied it over my entire nail, including the nail edges, and I really gave it a good coat because I know that it dries clear. After talking to a couple of my nail friends who use this chokehold, I knew that I needed to wait at least 3 minutes. Some people wait as long as 5, but I felt like for me, I don't know, I just felt like, okay, 3 minutes is probably going to be good for me. So I just literally put a timer on my phone for 3 minutes. And then when that 3 minutes was up, I went and soaked the decal in this little bowl for 15 seconds, making sure that before I took it out, it was able to easily slide off. I use these nail tweezers to set it down just because my hands are big and clumsy. So using the nail tweezers typically helps me. And something that I noticed right off the bat was how beautifully these decals lay down. So not only did I like the chokehold, I was super impressed with these decals because of how well they just laid. I noticed with the chokehold that it stays sticky, but it's not like it's not wet. So I waited the 3 minutes and it was nice and sticky, and I was able to use this silicone tool to really start pressing it down. Then I went around the decal and cut off some of the excess just so I could really work on smoothing it down well. And I tried to like cut off some of the excess that was on my skin as well. I'm kind of clumsy if you haven't watched any of my videos, so I was trying to be really careful, knowing that most likely I was going to like stab myself with the scissors, which I only did once and it didn't bleed, so that was good. But then I went through even more and kept smoothing and smoothing and smoothing, and I was shocked. So normally when I use sticky bases or dip liquids, I am not able to continue to smooth out the decal. And that's what would drive me insane. I could not get a smooth application of the decal. Well, this sticky base, this chokehold, I was able to keep smoothing. So after I had the decal down and it was sticking, I was still able to smooth it. The silicone tool for me worked so well because I just really like again, like I said, my fingers are clumsy. So using that silicone tool really helped. And then when I felt like I got my decal where I want it to be, everything was smooth, I took a hand file and went around the edges just a little bit to make sure that like I didn't have any of the decal like stuck underneath my nail in case like I pressed down too hard. And then even after that, I went through and smoothed everything again. And these decals are really strong. They apply so nicely. And I like how strong they are because I could go in with a hand file and just file gently around my cuticle area to make sure that they were nice and, laid flat in there. And then I kept smoothing. Like that's what I was just one of the things I was so impressed with was that anytime I saw any little bit of a wrinkle that like I messed up, no problem. I could just go right in and smooth it down. Then I actually ended up putting a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on the silicone tool just to go around my nail and make sure, since my nails are so dry, that I could really get the decal smoothed down. Once it was in place, I had it everywhere I wanted to. I went right in with my dip base and dipped my nail right into the clear dip powder. Now, something I've noticed too is sometimes when I've used dip base over decals, it tends to make them run. These did not run whatsoever. They did not get messed up using the dip base over. That was huge for me too. Like super excited that I could just go straight in with dip base and the decals stayed beautifully. Like the color did not change. So when you see me going and I activated after I put the clear dip powder down, when you see me trying to buff, I had for some reason did the top coating on my right hand and I was like being really impatient and not letting it dry. So I was awkwardly trying to just gently buff down over the decal since I added an extra layer of clear dip powder. And then I went around real carefully with my cuticle bit like I always like to do to make sure that my cuticle lines look really nice and even. Once I finished doing that, now it is time for top coat. So I cleaned all my nails with isopropyl alcohol, wiped them off. This way I made sure that there was nothing stuck on them before I did my top coating. And this part I love too. I love being able to use dip top coat for my top coating. And by being able to do the clear dip powder over these decals, you can do your top coating exactly like you normally would. So I'm using OG dip powder dip liquids, and the way that those liquids work is you want to do heavy activator on 5 nails, thumb to pinky. So I did that. Then when you get to your pinky, you count to 10, go to your thumb and start on your first layer of the top coat. And the first layer should be 2 to 3 quick, even strokes. You want to float the top coat layer over on that first layer to make sure that you're not pressing it down hard. And then you can go right in with your second layer. Drop a comment and let me know now if you want to try decals or if you've ever tried them. Come check out this next video and I'll teach you how to do easy stamps with dip. Thanks for joining me today, Nail Crew.